product for the April, May, June period, finding a decline of 0.6%. That's actually better than the original estimate and reflects stronger consumer spending and corporate investments. Meanwhile, the Labor Department says that 243,000 Americans filed first-time claims for unemployment benefits last week, 2,000 fewer than the week before.
Uvalde, Texas.
Jim Ryan, ABC News.
Uvalde, Texas Police Chief Pete Arredondo fired. The school board voting unanimously to relieve him of his duties 3 months after the school shooting that left 19 fourth graders and 2 of their teachers dead.
Arredondo criticized for his lack of leadership during the shooting, telling the Texas Tribune that he never considered himself the scene's incident commander. A blistering report stating a command post was never set up, leading to a breakdown in communication between officers on every level.
ABC's John Quinones in Uvalde. Reaction still coming in to President Biden's plan to forgive up to $20,000 of certain student loan debt, including, says ABC's Rebecca Jarvis, the timing of all this, especially with inflation so high.
We don't know the official price tag yet, but there are estimates it could be as much as $500 billion, and it's also unclear exactly how it will be paid for. Mark Zandi of Moody's Analytics does not see it having a substantial impact on inflation or GDP, but a number of Republicans and notably some Democrats, including President Obama's former head of the National Economic Council, are concerned it will send prices higher.
Los Angeles County ordered to pay Kobe Bryant's widow $16 million of a $31 million reward over the sharing of photos at the crash scene where Bryant, his daughter, and 7 others died. You're listening to ABC News.
Dan owed an unbelievable amount of money to the IRS.
I got behind on my taxes. It's a horrible feeling.
He was in denial.
And when I got those letters from the IRS, you wanted to act like they didn't exist.
Finally, Dan turned to Optima Tax Relief, the leading tax resolution firm. A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, they've resolved over $1 billion for their clients.
Optima got me a settlement with the IRS. These people are really people-friendly. It was every bit of a new lease on life for me.
The fast action and the great results made Dan's head spin.
I felt like I was in a dream, but it's real, and I have paperwork to prove it. They got the job done, and life is good.
For tax help you can trust, call Optima now for a free consultation.
If you're worried about what's going to happen with the IRS, stop worrying. Make the call now.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
California speeding down the road to a future without as many gas-powered cars.
43% of the nation's zero-emission vehicles are here in California. And today, California's Air Resources Board is set to make Governor Gavin Newsom's 2020 executive order a reality, banning the sale of all new gas-powered vehicles here by 2035.
We are marking a new course.
Historically, what California has done with environmental laws because of its size and impact around a dozen other Democrat-run states have followed. Alex Stone, ABC News, Los Angeles.
A multi-million-dollar settlement now reached after the devastation of Hurricane Katrina. Details from ABC's Chuck Sievertson.
Agreeing to pay the federal government $100 million in restitution over its alleged mishandling of flood insurance claims after Hurricane Katrina, a subsidiary of State Farm Insurance. This finishes up what started as a lawsuit by 2 whistleblowers more than 16 years ago. State Farm agrees to cancel counterclaims against the whistleblowers. The company was accused of shifting state claims in Mississippi to federal flood insurance that it should have paid. Chuck Sievertson, ABC News.
Coming back to a school in Missouri, corporal punishment. A school in Cassville, Missouri, about an hour west of Branson, has changed policies allowing staffers to paddle students. According to the Washington Post, officials say parents have been asking why it was banned. Parents will have to opt in to allow their kids to be paddled. This is ABC News.
Dealing with an outdated printer that just can't keep up with you? Visit Staples and upgrade to a new HP Envy Inspire with HP Plus, HP's best home printer. And it comes with 6 months of free ink. It prints everything you need, from homework and work documents to incredible photos and more with amazing quality. Right now, save $70 on the HP Envy Inspire 7955E, available at Staples. Offer valid through August 27. See staples.com/HP Plus for details.
I'm Sherry Preston, ABC News.
Hi, everyone. Meteorologist Anthony Baglione here on this Thursday. We are going to keep scattered showers and storms in the forecast here throughout our day. Otherwise, we'll see mostly cloudy skies and highs topping out in the low 80s by this afternoon. Into tonight, mostly cloudy and muggy with lows falling into the upper 60s and low 70s. We will still see a few showers and storms even into our Friday with mostly sunny skies and highs topping out tomorrow in the upper 80s and low 90s. So warm and muggy to wrap up the week. I'm meteorologist Anthony Baglione in the Weather Center.
It's 70 degrees here in the foothills, according to Peter, the meter reader. It's beautiful downtown Whiteside Road. Cloudy skies and 70 degrees. Be warming up a little bit, getting up to about 84 for a daytime high today with light wind and chance of precip, about 30% chance of precip today. It's 9:05.
It's time now for My Great America with Jim and Butch, a conversation about positive things about this great country. And now here are Jim and Butch.
Well, good morning, Butch. It's another great getting up morning here in the foothills.
You know what, Jim? You've got all these statements and phrases and things that are Jim Bishop-isms. We want to make sure you know this is WCAB. It's not Waggy. It's not WAGY. You know, Jim, radio, and I love that you got those pretzels that I brought you there.
Yes, been munching on those.
You have?
Yes, they're good. Good with coffee.
Okay, and yeah, they're like a chocolate dipped pretzel. Yeah, I you know, when you care about people, you learn their love language, and I've just learned that here at WCAB, chocolate is something that everybody seems to like.
We love chocolate. We love chocolate.
Well, tell me a little bit about the morning and what you're focused on, and you know, there's a lot going on in the country, isn't there?
There's a lot going on, and Sheriff Francis had a good lengthy report this morning about the new scanners that's coming into the courthouse, coming into the jail, that will make that much better, and talked about the guys that were arrested that brought them in, and I discussed that a little bit.
And who were the men? I mean, what was their story? Were they?
They just brought them in their body cavity and distributed them to the guys who overdosed with them. Or it doesn't take many to overdose on the fentanyl. One can do that. They brought them in their body cavity, and I don't know how they got them or why they were there, but they're there now, and it's sad.
Oh, it is, but you know what? There's hope, and there's life, and there's direction, and there's healing. We often talk about it. It only comes through a relationship with Jesus, but we need people that are in office that are people of character, conviction, competency, and compassion. Those are the four things I look for.
Yes.
Those four things, Jim. I don't care if it's the presidential elections, local elections, for the sheriff, whatever it may be. And I'll just tell you this, if somebody doesn't have character, it's a non-starter for me.
Me too.
If somebody has a moving line between lies and truth and thinks it's okay to exaggerate, that's a non-starter. I don't care, and I'm going to say this, I don't care if it's Donald Trump, I don't care if it's DeSantis, whomever it may be. If somebody doesn't really take hold of truth, they're not getting my vote. Mm-hmm. They're not. Local elections, regional elections, North Carolina elections, national elections. Because if a person doesn't really apprehend truth, you never know what you're getting with them.
And we need to hold their feet to the fire when they campaign and tell us this, that, and the other. We need to hold their feet to the fire and make sure they do that.
Exactly. Once you open up the doors to the galloping four horsemen of the apocalypse of truth is whatever I say, not what God says, you are in a world of hurt. And our country's in a world of hurt. Why? Because Democrats and Republicans and independents and a lot of opportunistic people, Jim, have just said, I'm going to say whatever it is people want to hear.
See if it sticks. See if it sticks on the wall.
See if it sticks on the wall. And that's why when people say, who are you going to vote for? You know what my answer is? It's not who my church tells me to vote for. It's not who my mother tells me to vote for. She has a lot of opinions that she tries to put in me about who to vote for. I'm going to vote for who God tells me to vote for, and if it's not popular, I don't care. You know why? Because I'm standing alone before the living God. I'm not standing with my church. I'm not standing with my friends, my family. I'm not standing with the RCGOP. I'll stand one day before the living God, and he'll ask me, what did you do with your life, and what did you do with the choices that you had? And Jim, I think about that often. Yeah.
There is that answering day coming for all of us.
For all of us. And so, look, I love new Supreme Court justices. I love the direction that our country was taking in so many different ways. But I'm not jumping on anybody's bandwagon just because there's a bandwagon. I want to make sure I know where the parade is going before I jump into the parade. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, sure.
Yeah, and that, of course, has marked your life, Jim, for so long. It's why they refer to you in part as the Godfather. I mean, you're somebody that wants to discern what's happening, and of course, our county needs help. And the jail's another example of that, isn't it?
Yes, it is. They are in need of some drastic help, and a lot of it's going to have to come back down to money. With the county commissioners will open up that purse string and do some things with the jail and modernize it, bring it up forward. I can remember I was here when they first thought about building this new jail that's there now. And some critics were saying, we don't need a new jail. And it's going to be too tall. It's going to ruin the landscape of our city by having a tall jail. Well, of course, it didn't make any sense what their argument was. They just didn't want to see the change. Now we have come to the point where the new jail is now almost become obsolete.
Right. And you know, this morning in the sheriff's report, 211 people are over there.
Yes.
And, you know, they're not able to hire enough people. I had it on good report in a conversation that I had with one of the sheriff's candidates that because they don't have enough people, Jim, they've got people that are like alleged murderers right next to people that are 3-time serial DUI folks. And you got to be real careful. And so I know this is not an attack on anyone, certainly not an attack on Chris Francis, but we need to make sure that we're being righteous when it comes to dealing with folks that are incarcerated. Jesus has a lot to say about people that are in jail. He talks about the prisoners, the orphans, and the widows. When I was a youth pastor in church, years ago, I used to tell folks, look, if you don't know what your ministry needs to be, prisoners, widows, and orphans, God makes it very, very clear what his ethic is there.
Well, prisoners are there for many various reasons, and sometimes there are those prisoners in there that are political prisoners because they have said the right thing and done the right thing. They've been tossed in prison because of their faith. So we have to keep in mind those folks are there as well.
Right, and of course we got a number of January 6 folks who transgressed the law, but there are people who didn't that are still in squalor, and it's horrible. Right. My dear friend Steve Stockman,
yes,
who's been on here before, was telling me about John Woods, who's a friend of his that has been in prison, and an FBI agent admitted to having scrubbed John's hard drive and in ways that hurt his case politically. And the Department of Justice is not the Department of Justice when it is a political instrument just trying to hurt people.
Exactly right. Exactly.
Yeah, I like it when you do. You've got these different things that you do. One of those is,
I keep hearing a little noise in there, and I'm trying to figure out where that noise is coming from. I keep looking around to see if I see. Maybe.
Well, you're a firm believer in the Second Amendment, so I feel like we're going to be okay. You know what, Jim? I think there used to be one of these copies of this book. It's called Legendary Locals of Rutherford County, Dr. Anita Price Davis.
Mm-hmm.
And
dear friend,
years ago, I felt like I may have, not too many years ago, I don't want to exaggerate. My grandfather used to say exaggeration is sin. It's lying. So I don't want to exaggerate. So it wasn't too many years ago. I thought I saw one of these in here, and I looked for it, and I couldn't find it. So I bought one yesterday, and I'm telling you, I am absolutely fascinated with the stories here locally. May I read one?
Yes, please do.
Yeah, it really gave me a lot of joy. I'll tell you about that piece of mail in a minute. All right, so this is a great book. I got it at CVS, Legendary Locals of Rutherford County. Listen to this. Guilford Nanny. You know that name?
Mm-hmm.
You do?
I know the nanny name.
Okay. By the time the Morses purchased Chimney Rock from Jerome Freeman, the 2,280-foot wooden stairway to Chimney Rock that Freeman had installed was 17 years old. Exposed to the elements for almost 2 decades, the stairs were no longer safe. The Morses contacted local builder Guilford Nanny to consider rebuilding the 472 steps so that visitors could reach the top of Chimney Rock. Born in Henderson County, Guilford Nanny, January 10th, 1871 to November 10th, 1952, designed tall houses in his head and built them for others. Several of the houses he designed and built are in the National Historic Register. Nanny agreed to complete the work in 2 weeks. Now, Nanny's work, the early postcard here shows some of the 472 steps, landings, lookouts that visitors had to climb to reach the top of Chimney Rock before the installation of the elevator in 1949. Nanny had used locust wood, which became like iron with age. He also designed a network of paths and lookouts in Chimney Rock Park. He spent his later years serving as Chimney Rock Park Superintendent. He lived to see the installation of the Chimney Rock elevator in 1949. And that is the rest of the story. We are pregnant with stories, Jim. We're going to be touching on some. Isn't that sweet?
Dr. Davis wrote many books around Rutherford County, historical factor, and she spotlighted things of history. She's passed on now, but a dear friend, and she was a great writer.
Was she from around here?
She was, yeah. She lived in Ellenboro, I believe. Taught at Gardner Webb University for a while.
Okay. You know, the thing that is so incredible is I was flipping through this. Of course, you got black and white photos. You got all these different stories. We dare not forget the rich history God has put into this place.
Absolutely.
And our county, Jim, just like our nation, our county is a special county. Our county has got these stories and these people and these sacrifices and incredible things. And, you know, as the county grows, because the county's going to grow dramatically. I talked to Bud again. You know, every time I talk to Bud, Bud is like STP. You know, you put STP in your gas tank. It's supposed to make it run faster. I get off the phone with Bud, and I feel like I need to be out doing something. You know what? Because he's that way. And he'll say to me, you know what, Butch, I can't wait to get back into the flow of things. I can't wait to be back out there at the meetings. And then he'll do to you what he does with me. He'll say, you know what, here's my report. And we get that election report. He stays in touch with them every single day. There's not a more knowledgeable person. I told him one time, I said, Bud, I'm not sure you know what a hard drive is or a central processing unit, but you're a walking hard drive and central processing unit for everything election related in history here in Rutherford County. Isn't it sweet to look?
That's great. Yeah, it's been a while since I've looked through this book, so I'm thumbing through it now as you talk.
Well, and it's so good. And you know what? We're praying for Bud. He gets his stent out from his heart on the 26th, and you know it says in Scripture to rejoice with those who rejoice and weep with those who weep. You know how we know the life of God is in us? We know the life of God is in us when we are praying for people. Now, okay, all right, folks, you know it's live radio, and I'll tell you how you know it's live radio. You know, Here we go. Right here on page 110, Lou Gillum. Gillum has helped to organize the announcements, news, and weather to keep the residents of the county up to date for several decades. She started her radio career at WBBO in Forest City over 30 years ago. It was then she met Jim Bishop before he went to work for Governor Jim Martin. She's now the office manager, program director, and announcer at WCAB in Rutherford. She's more than that, too.
She is.
She puts up signs and tells us how to make sure we throw stuff properly away in the trash can. Bishop owns the station, of course that just changed, and calls her a record breaker. Even though offered jobs at other stations and larger market stations, she remained in Rutherford County. She's been on the air in the county longer than any other female. Right there in the book.
That's right.
You know, the mark of a good boss is when you affirm people. I've heard you affirm Tracy, Todd, in the past. Of course, Todd's over there at the hospital, and I don't know, maybe God will have him come back here someday. We'll see. Tracy, of course, who's done almost a quarter of a century of work in advertising and sales and marketing. And you know what? You get a lot of people that are armchair, they used to call them armchair quarterbacks. I'll call them something else. Armchair pundits. And they'll say, well, I do it this way or I do it that way. Well, you know what, Jim? Here's the bottom line. Even if it's like those old, you know, my grandmother used to have one of those old ringer washers. Do you remember those?
Oh, yes.
She used to tell me, I'm tempted to chase a rabbit trail. She used to tell me, be very careful with your fingers.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. But you know what? WCAB is like an old Ringer washing machine. The clothes keep coming out. They're clean. They're fresh. You hang them up. And so everybody that's got an idea or opinion, God doesn't care about our opinions. My pastor often says this. I love having a pastor, by the way, that'll just speak the truth in love. God doesn't care about our opinions. God only cares about us communicating his will. And I'd love, like even the Blue Room, there are people that might come in and say, well, I would change this. Well, it's not yours to change.
Well, we do as we think it's conducive to what we want to get done. The job is get the job done and keep the main thing, we keep on.
Exactly. And those B-17s, I'll say this, years ago, while other young people were interested in different things, I used to watch a program called 12 O'Clock High. And it was about, you remember that?
Yes.
Yeah, it was about B-17 pilots, and I just loved the heroism and all of that. But you know what? When they'd get German flak that would come up and blow off half the wing, and they'd have somebody, fixing things up there, it reminds me a little bit of WCAB. Like there's a flicker in the signal, and Jim's going back there to say, okay, we're going to figure things out, and I'm sometimes I prayed, God, please don't let them be electrocuted, and but God has just used this station and continues to be a beacon of light. And it's up there on that hill. And one of my favorite memories after having moved here was the time you and I went four-wheeling through the grass there to get to that tower, and you telling me it's hot, steer.
Don't touch it.
Don't touch it. And Jim, all of those stories are going to have to be imported into the new ownership because the flame that burns and flickers with such intensity needs to be encouraged, and that's been you and will continue to be.
Well, I think there'll be a smooth transition. We'll certainly hope and work forward to that smooth transition.
Right, and I guess maybe around the 1st of September. The new owner will be back here, and I'm looking forward to the opportunity of meeting with them. I had somebody again, they're old Democratic friends of mine that still circle back, Jim, and they'll try to poke me and see if there's anything in me that's still there. And, thank God there's not. I don't believe there is. And I had somebody that was telling me in a text recently some things about, what, Butch, you have bought hook, line, and sinker into the lie that America is a Christian country, and it's not. And so it's not often anymore that God allows me to turn loose the national interscholastic and intercollegiate debate part of me. God's told me to put that horse in the barn, and that horse only comes out when God tells me to mount it and ride it. But I did in this conversation I just had. And part of what I shared with them, I'm going to share with you right now. So when people say, okay, you know what, Butch, those founding fathers were theists. They didn't really believe in God. They were pragmatists. They were all into their own thing. Well, then how in the world, if that's true, how in the world do you explain John Hancock and John Adams saying this? We recognize no sovereign but God and no king but Jesus.
It's pretty plain.
It's help me, somebody. If I don't know that there are Democrats that listen to our program, but you know what? I was one. There is help for you. There's hope. You can find redemption. How do you explain we recognize no sovereign but God and no king but Jesus? John Hancock and John Adams. John Adams, the second president, also said the general principles upon which the fathers achieved independence were the general principles of Christianity. Okay, woke nation, help me understand what you don't understand about that.
Yes.
Help me understand. It's in the National Archives. Take a look. He also said, I will avow that I believe, and now believe again, that the general principles of Christianity are as eternal and immutable as the existence and attributes of God. Benjamin Rush, a signer of the Declaration of Independence, what did he say? Well, listen, my only hope of salvation is in the infinite transcendent love of God manifested to the world by the death of his Son upon the cross. Nothing but his blood will wash away my sins. I rely exclusively upon it. Come, Lord Jesus, come quickly. Benjamin Rush, an original signer of the Declaration of Independence. Woke Nation, I'm just asking you the question, and it's not a rhetorical one. What do you do with the historical facts that you can find in the National Archives, making it very clear that Jesus, the Son of the living God, was on the hearts of so many of the signers? And Jim, when truth has fallen in the streets, my dear friend Gerald Sutherland, one of the ministers at Word of Faith Fellowship, has preached on this before. Truth has fallen in the streets, and when we don't recognize truth anymore and the veil is over our eyes, we're in deep trouble.
Well, one of the things our enemy loves to do is blind us from the truth. It blinds us with a lot of glamour and glitz and fancy tales out there that blinds us from the real truth. And when we're blinded, then we can't see that. And we have many people in leadership right now who can't see that because they're blinded.
Right. And I'm so committed to making sure that I stay in touch with people that are of a different opinion. You know, I'm having breakfast Friday morning with Pat Joe, tomorrow morning with Pat Joe. Pat and I are different on so many different levels, but you know what we're not different regarding? I made a commitment to love he and his wife, Gabe. And they'll leave in September. They live there in Grahamtown, and I told you, he'll give a heads up to the local police department and the residents. The old white guy that's there helping out with their house is my friend Butch. It's important for us not just to stay in our enclave. People often forget, people talk a lot these days, especially folks that are in the charismatic world, prophetic world, about Jesus is coming back soon. Well, let me tell you one of the things we don't talk enough about. One of the signposts of when Christ will return is the evangelization of the entire world. It's one of the reasons why I have respect for the Southern Baptists. The International Mission Board of the Southern Baptist Church has a committed and dedicated focus on missionaries going around the world, and it makes it very clear that it's not just the reestablishment of Israel in 1948, it's not just these other things that we're seeing out of Matthew 25. One of the signposts or indicators is going to be when the gospel has been brought to the entire world, and the estimates are from Wycliffe, from the Winter Report and others, that as many as 1.3 billion people in the world has still not heard about Jesus.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so it's my for and no more. We all think in Rutherford County, 70% Republican, churches on every corner. Of course the whole world knows. No, they don't. They don't. And our world is the one we're terminally responsible for, and the world of Rutherford County. I mean, we need to take the gospel and truth and life and health everywhere we go. In the spirit of that, tonight is the official Republican Party meeting.
It is.
At 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
At 6 o'clock, and Jim will be there, I'll be there, and it's important for you to come. If you're a citizen, you're patriotic, you're conservative, you believe in life, small government regulation, you're pro-entrepreneurship, you ought to come. And the food is there, and it's great too.
A lot of Republicans over the years have said, I wish our party would grow. Our party is growing by leaps and bounds.
17 new people last time.
So now's the time to get back involved.
Now's the time to get on board, little children.
That's right.
It's the time. It's the time to get on board. Jim, we also had a giveaway last time. I'm not sure who won.
I'm not sure we had a winner. That was a tough question. I don't remember now what it was.
This is My Great America with Jim and Butch, and Jim and I are in a good flow together. Well, I've got a sweet little gift for somebody. We're going to ask the question again. I'm going to leave that around the corner here. Listen, today, if you think your light doesn't matter, it does. God said, let your light so shine among men that they'll see Jesus in you. We can all make a difference. Let's make a difference today, Jim.
Absolutely. God bless America.
God bless America.
Thank you for joining us for My Great America with Jim and Butch. Join us each Tuesday and Thursday morning at 9:05 for this enlightening program on 100.9 FM and 590 AM. It's My Great America with Jim and Butch.
Hi, everyone. Meteorologist Anthony Baglione here on this Thursday. We are going to keep scattered showers and storms in the forecast here throughout our day. Otherwise, we'll see mostly cloudy skies and highs topping out in the low 80s by this afternoon. Into tonight, mostly cloudy and muggy with lows falling into the upper 60s and low 70s. We will still see a few showers and storms even into our Friday with mostly sunny skies and highs topping out tomorrow in the upper 80s and low 90s. So warm and muggy to wrap up the week. I'm meteorologist Anthony Baglione in the Weather Center.
Circle B is the place to be in Rutherford County. Enjoy delicious smoked cooked barbecue plates or sandwiches, plus all the sides that you love with barbecue. All food is prepared fresh daily. Circle B is a family-owned business, so eat local and support local businesses. They also offer catering. Any event you have coming up, call on Circle B Barbecue, 828-395-2140. Hours are Thursday, Friday, Saturday,